Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to take a look into data types in JavaScript, and some people call them also primitives because they are built-in data types into JavaScript itself. There are also complex types, but we are not going to take a look into these in this tutorial. But if you will be interested, we can dive into these in further videos. So put some comments down below this video and we'll see if it's actually needed. So for this tutorial, I prepared a list of things which will help us to understand what types we have and what are the tricky parts of each type. So on my screen you can see a bunch of things. I've used console.log method. So console is the built-in object into JavaScript which allows you to kind of push a variety of things into your console. If you have terminal or in your browser you have a console, there are different methods to push different stuff into your console, and console.log is actually printing out information that you are which you wish to print, basically. So in our case we want to see the type. So the type of is a operator, again built into JavaScript, which allows us to see the type of the whatever thing you pass to it. So basically it returns you just a name of the type the thing is. So for example, as you can see on the line 3, we have type of number 1 is number. So in JavaScript it's quite interesting because in more mature languages like C#, PHP, or like Java, Python, etc., there are types integer and float for numbers, but in JavaScript you will have only number. And to prove that, I will show you also this example, which in theory should be float in other languages, but in JavaScript it's still number. So if it's a digit, it's number. If it's a float number, it's still number. So that's just something you need to remember. The next type is string. String is basically everything that you put in quotes. So you have two options. I showed only one here, which is double quotes, but you can use also single quotes, and whatever goes into these quotes will be string, basically. So it's just a text, right? And it's quite common type in JavaScript in general. So the next type is very interesting because JavaScript is not like a very solid language. It matures with time at the moment, but like it still kind of tries to find its path. It has a couple of interesting elements or data types which are all treated as objects. So for example, null is an interesting one. As you can see, type of null is object, but it's sort of a bug in JavaScript, and basically those people who are working on the JavaScript language itself, they can't really fix it. So in languages like C#, for example, null means basically that it's something that doesn't exist but it was supposed to be an object. So and JavaScript basically treats null as an empty value. It's a falsy value, but it doesn't really mean that it was supposed to be an object. And null usually on itself, by itself, is a type in other languages, but in JavaScript it's treated as object. So be careful with that, because if you will see null, you will in your mind think like, oh yeah, this is empty value, but type of it is actually an object, which it's not an object really. So you can't even access any properties of it. So the next one is square brackets, which basically defines an array, an indexed array, where you have like keys like 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then some values for these keys. But in JavaScript, it's not an array, but it still treats is treated as an object. Okay, so and then the next one is again an object, but this is like a real object. It's a JSON structure, so where you will have property value, and basically this is the real object. So this will be a complex kind of structure eventually, which will be treated as an object, JSON object, and this is the most correct object, if you like, out there. So the next one is undefined. This is very JavaScript specific. So undefined is basically something that it does exist, like a variable, for example, and you will see more examples in further videos where I explain how to define variables. But it's like when you have something created in memory, but you don't have data for it. So it's like variable, but like empty variable, not empty string, not zero, not null, but something that has been created but never defined with any values. Okay, and this is very JavaScript specific. So the next one is Boolean, very common, and this is something you're going to use very often. Okay, so Booleans are literally just two values, true or false, and this is thankfully exactly the same as it is in any other languages. So basically this is the, I guess, string and Boolean are the only types that are exactly the same in pretty much every language. So it's very similar to whatever language you will pick, and it's very easy to understand. Basically true, false, Boolean. Okay, and then there is another type which I've never used in my career, and if you will Google for it, it's very unique. I guess it might be used for some big data crunching kind of stuff. I don't really know any examples where it might be used. Even if you will Google it on like W3 school tutorials, they even don't mention this. So they only mention all the types above that I already covered, but big int is never even described in documentation. So you can find some information about it on Mozilla's documentation and other kind of resources, but it's very unique, and most likely for a majority of people in majority of careers you will never meet this type, but it does exist. So it's a very big number, and interestingly it's an integer, big int, but the rest of the numbers are numbers. So that's pretty much it. So it's very quick explanation of data types in JavaScript. If you want to have any kind of more details on one of these types, like for example object is quite interesting one, we will cover undefined in more details because of the next videos will be about variables, but there are also complex types, as I mentioned. So if you want to know more about these, we can record another video. So let's I don't know, collect 100 likes on this one, and if we will do that, yeah, I will record a complex types in JavaScript video, or I will record it anyway. So yeah, that's it, folks. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and comment under this video, and see you in the next one. Bye.